Hey, how's it going? This is Ben Freer, and today I'm going to talk about which is the better entrepreneur visa for the USA, the E2 visa or the L1. So I had a conversation with a prospective client a few days ago, and this person had an established business in the UK, and she was trying to explore her options for setting up a US-based business. And we had this discussion about the L1 visa versus the E2 visa. She technically would qualify for both of them. So we ran through some scenarios and we talked about the pros and the cons. And I figured it might be helpful to talk about this for anybody who's in a similar situation, who's weighing their different visa options. They're trying to decide what would make the most sense for them. So let's first talk a little bit about the L1 visa. The way to think about the L1 visa is that it's technically a transferee visa. So if you're interested in starting a US business, you're obviously going to need another business abroad that can transfer you to the United States to work for a related company. Now, the nice thing about the L1 visa is that it's very similar to the requirements for the EB1C green card. And without bogging you down with all the details, what that essentially means is that you can apply for the L1 visa and then potentially later use really the same requirements in requesting an EB1C green card. Now, this is great if you already have an existing business and it's up and running, but it's going to be a little cumbersome if you're trying to start this whole process from scratch. If you're starting from zero and the goal is to eventually open up a US company, then you would have to first establish a business abroad. You would have to work there for at least a year as an upper level manager or executive, and then you would have to transfer to the US while that business abroad is still running. So as you can see, that's going to be a pretty difficult path. And one of the other things that makes it so difficult is that your business has to be of such a size that you are essentially acting as an upper level manager, or you're an executive that sort of sets the direction of your company, and you can't really be involved in the day-to-day operations. So most of us don't really have businesses of that size, nor do we want to. I know I certainly wouldn't qualify for an L1 visa because I get my hands dirty. I actually do the work. I'm involved in the daily operations. So if you're someone like me, it's kind of hard to fathom this giant organization and this structure that allows you to sort of operate at a higher level while you leave the daily tasks to somebody else. So if you don't think that it's possible to set up that sort of structure, or you just don't want to hassle with it, and you're a national of a country that has an E2 treaty with the United States, then I recommend that you look at the E2 visa. Here are a few of the reasons why the E2 visa is a really fantastic option for a lot of people. First of all, there's no minimum investment requirement. Now, you do have to invest in a business that you plan to run, and that investment has to be substantial. And while there's no set dollar amount that you have to invest enough to make the business work, to make it successful. And your business also has to be projected to employ US workers either right out the gate or a little bit further down the road. So it makes sense that in order to meet those requirements, you're going to have to come up with a decent sum of money. It doesn't necessarily have to be $100,000 or $200,000, but your investment has to be sufficient to meet all the other requirements of the E2 visa. If you try to invest $10,000 in an E2 business, you're not really going to be taken seriously because the US government is going to think, what kind of business can successfully be started for $10,000 which is going to grow into this entity that employs US workers. Now, it's possible that they'll look at this $10,000 investment with an open mind, but more than likely, they won't take it seriously and they'll likely deny your application. But if you do make a $30,000 investment, a $40,000 investment, a $50,000 investment, and you can demonstrate that that's enough to get your business off the ground and to make it successful, then you can have a shot at it. Another aspect of the E2 visa that I really appreciate is the fact that it can be extended/renewed indefinitely as long as your E2 business continues to meet the requirements. Now, in order to maintain the E2 visa, you will have to go through a process for renewing it or extending it. This can be done within the United States. So when you enter the United States on an E2 visa, you get 2 years. If you're approaching that 2-year mark, you can apply through USCIS to extend it, or you can leave the country and apply for a renewal at a consulate. Now, compare that to the L1 visa, which is good for a maximum of 7 years if you don't actually go through the green card process. So I think to summarize, I can really say this. If you already have a business in place that has this structure that allows you to operate at a higher level, and it's really important for you to get a green card, then it makes sense for you to pursue the L1 visa and try to transition to a green card. However, if, on the other hand, you do not have such a structure in place, nor do you have any interest in putting together a business that has that sort of structure, and you don't mind the fact that it's a little bit more difficult to transition from an E2 visa to a green card, then I think the E2 visa path is probably going to be better for you. So hopefully this was helpful. If you did enjoy this video, please like it or share it with someone who could benefit from it. Thank you for your time.